So yesterday, I was looking through my YouTube subscriptions when I saw this poll by Undertaker, a fellow Skyblock YouTuber. What's the worst thing about Hypixel Skyblock? And I realized that these are all problems that Skyblock players face when they play the game, but I think I have an idea of how to make these a little bit more enjoyable. Okay, so the most voted on this poll by far is foraging, and that makes sense, because there are a lot of problems with foraging. First of all, foraging has remained almost exactly the same since all the way back in 2019. And since then, it has gotten even more annoying since due to the competition of other players and inflation on the economy, which lets more people build optimal setups, which makes them take more of your trees and makes your grind ever more painful. Now, there are a couple of solutions to this. First of all, if you can't beat them, join them. Get a tree cap, some young dragon armor, and a legendary monkey pet, and grind for a couple hours till you get really bored and do something else, like more exciting like dungeons. Because I know most dungeon players aren't foraging 30 yet. But if you did make a lot of money off dungeons, then the second method is to not do that. Some players realize that it's faster and easier to either buy a bunch of minions, which aren't that good for foraging, or the more despicable way, where they crash the entire Jerry box market in order to get themselves foraging 50. But this leads to our next problem. So 22% of players voted that inflation is the worst thing plaguing the game. And I can see what they mean. New content means new money making methods. New money making methods means new money. And new money means more money to spend, which makes money worth less overall, which causes inflation. But there's really only one way to solve this, unless you want to just throw money to the void then. The only choice is obvious. All you need to do is go to the Skyblock menu, click on profiles, and create a new one, and choose Iron Man, because this entirely closes you off from the economy and eliminates inflation from your playthrough. But if you don't want to do that, then you probably need to learn some of the money making methods. But this can be hindered by our third topic: layers. Hypixel Skyblock is an MMO, or massively multiplayer online, which means that you are always online playing with other players, but that can have some downsides. Like, with all interactions, there is a chance for some scheming and a little bit of trolling, and even worse, scamming and duping, which can slow or even destroy a player's progress. But what can players do about this? Well, first of all, there are a number of Hypixel settings that can help players interact with sussy players less. Well, there aren't any ways to fully play without other players. There are tools to block players using the /ignore add command, or simply turning off chat in the Hypixel settings. But another tip is avoiding common scams. I'll go over a couple of common ones. First of all, if someone invites you to a co-op, or if you invite them to a co-op, then never accept it unless it's someone that you trust fully with your entire account. Because if you're in a two-man co-op, then one person can invite a couple alts, and they kick you off the co-op and steal all of your items. Second is trading scams. The first thing to think is that if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. There are a few different methods of this, such as one I like to call the triple S, or sword swap scam, where players will first show a sword like a giant sword or a Hyperion, and when you end up trading the item, they will cancel it and quickly replace it with a much cheaper item, such as a zombie soldier cutlass. Because when they cancel it multiple times, there is a chance that you won't notice, which is how they get you. Additionally, there is also the crafting scam, where people want you to craft an item, like a Yeti sword or a glacial scythe, but they will swap out the enchanted pack dice with normal pack dice. Third is the carry scam, Now, I cannot stress this enough, but there is no one in the entire game that has 100% chance of not escaping. But buying carries from random people, even if they could carry you, doesn't mean that they will. Well, using verified discords usually negates most of that risk because they've carried people before in the past. There's no 100% way to negate this risk, unless you want to play the game and grind it yourself instead of paying someone else to do it for you. Yeah, I know who you are, buying E-man carries and floor 7 carries so you can just grind one thing without playing any other parts of the game. But if you do want to grind 4-7 without being carried, then you have to do a whole lot of our next problem. Now, while dungeons is something that many players love, some players really don't like playing. At face value, things like memorizing secrets and playing with Party Finder is really hard for some players and even pretty toxic at times. But if you have some good gear, then there are a few solutions to this. First of all, secrets are pretty hard for many players to memorize because of the amount of different rooms in dungeons. One of the most popular solutions is to play with Dungeons Rooms mod, which can show where secrets are in different dungeon rooms. And mods like SkyTills can have solvers for different puzzle rooms. The second part of the problem is playing with Party Finder, which was a way to let anyone play dungeons and queue of random people when they can't find anyone else. But this has a few downsides, such as players who aren't good at the game or are just toxic. Now, there are two solutions to this. First of all, guilds are a way to play with people who also are trying to play dungeons as well, which means when you want to play dungeons, you can ask your guild for players who also want to play with you. But the other way to do this is to make a perk, which is like a guild, but it's just a group of people who want to play dungeons, and not a guild, which could do many different things and has more players. Now, even though there were 4 things that he said in the original polls, there are 5 options, where he did ask people in the comments what they saw, so I'm gonna rapid fire off a few. The lag is the worst for me. The amazing servers. Okay, I realized that these comments were just mentioning the lag of the servers, and there isn't really a good way to fix this unless you want to move to wherever the nearest servers are. Iron Man money making methods. Just do mining. There are no other good Iron Man money making methods. The price nerf in Mithril. Okay, well, maybe don't do Mithril mining, because I looked it up and they nerfed the price by 20%. And if you don't like the new Mithril prices, then just go down to Crystal Hollows and do some gemstones, I guess. Well, if you like that video and you want to see more like it, then subscribe and check out my streams if you want to play with me and make me do some weird challenges. Alchemy. Okay, fine. I'll do a drag at 1%. Do a drag. And I'm not gonna roll this. Let's see what I get. Don't get do a drag. Don't get do a drag. Don't get do a drag. No! Do a drag. Okay, I'll do the next thing that chat says after do a drag. Chat says do it. Okay, fine. I'll do a drag.